I mean, firstly, I'd say it's, the last 12 months have been challenging for everyone. We've got live sector not being able to operate at all, lots of people out of work. We were quite quiet, I think, like most studios at the start, trying to figure out how to responsibly operate and whether we could operate, and if we were to, how to, learning about what this pandemic was all about, is all about. After a lot of thinking and a lot of practice, trial and error of figuring out what can and can't work, and then following government guidelines and working with people like the MPGs and other industry bodies to figure out what we can do to make the studios, in quotes, COVID safe, or more safe to come to an environment. We've been really busy. I think we've been able to cater as safely as possible to artists of all genres and persuasions, in that we know how many numbers we can keep in a room. We've got, as you guys saw coming into the building, a layer of security that we can hopefully make sure that everyone's being vetted on the way in to make sure things are as safe as they can be, and also deeper cleaning. So I think knowing that we've sort of developed a system that we can offer to our clients to give people the confidence to come into studios. It's actually worked out in our favour, I think, because post the first lockdown, with people not being able to tour, there's been a huge demand for studios to be able to write, record, mix, and get remote sessions done, which again, a big thing for us has been Source Connect work. I mean, the room we're in right now, the pool, I've been doing string sessions with people as far away as France, some people in Sweden, just to be able to get, the things done that they need to be able to get done. So workflow has changed, but it's definitely been busy still. There's some things coming up, which coming out tomorrow is some stuff from Frey Writings. Just did some live bits and pieces here, which will be coming out soon. We've got a new project, which we're doing at Miloco, which is a sort of a live session production, which I can't speak too much about that just yet, but that will be coming out really soon as well, which was all done in here, like whole film crews, which again, for the COVID testing, we had COVID testing on site before doing all these sorts of things. There's lots of other things. I mean, now drum sampling label has been really busy in here as well, which is what's happening in the room behind us at the moment. There's a lot of stuff happening which I can't speak about yet because announcements haven't been made, but it's been like I say, because people haven't been able to tour, there's been a lot of extra behind the scenes work happening for releases. So this is it's a Vintage Neve 5315, which has seen a few different iterations in its life. It is a broadcast console as well, not too different from the EMT console we used to have in here. If you look closely at the faders, we've actually just flipped them around. All the numbers are upside down because of the whole up and down. Anyway, it's one of the quirks of the console. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's really transformed the room in that previously with the EMT console, we were using a lot of outboard preamps. We used to have two different racks of Neve preamps in here that we were using anyway. And we just decided that the opportunity came up to snag this console, and we took it because the workflow of having such a nice 24 channels is the perfect number for this room. It's all at your fingertips, and anyone that's recorded on a Vintage Neve knows that there's a sound and a feel from just working at one that you can't get it with anything else. And I actually quite like this particular Vintage Neve, in that the top end EQ is different to something of the 1081, 1073 ilk, which I think complements the room nicely. It's a smoother sound to my ear, and yeah, for me it's transformed the room. Everything's quicker, it's easier, and it sounds great. What can go wrong? Yeah. So one of the things we've done with this room, which is different to a lot of other recording studios, is that we don't use any XLR junction boxes. You go straight from the microphone, straight to the desk. It's the cleanest signal path we can possibly have. That has its limitations in its workflow, but the benefits of it completely outweigh the negatives for this sort of setup, where we like to have things ready to go immediately. There's nothing that can go wrong beyond the cable between the microphone and the desk. And it's nothing that can introduce noise or crackles or whatever. So it's a really pure signal path. And then generally we just run everything up the board. So, I mean, you can see the room, we always have it set up for something. And basically we just bring everything in across the console. So you might start with your kick drum to your snare drum, guitar one, some keys, some synths. And hopefully by the end of setting everything up, we've more than filled the console, because we've actually got a rack of outboard preamps which you can use as well. So 24 channel console, plus I think another 24 channels of outboard preamp.
Yeah, there's the sidecar as well.
Exactly.
Extra 8 on there, I think, at least.
Exactly, yeah. Eight channel Neve sidecar, plus the other rack of extra bits and pieces on the side there, the Chandler gear and the API racks. Yeah, definitely spoilt for choice in a room like this. And then from there, you can run through any of the outboard gear you want, which again, we've got an extensive collection which is growing. Some new gear's arriving next week, which is exciting. And then straight to Pro Tools, which you can see we've got a session up now. And then again, because it's a broadcast console, you've got a choice. So we can manually patch the console to run inline, or it's typically a split monitor console. So you would then generally need to either monitor digitally or save a few faders to monitor, or we've got a few ways of working how the monitor side of the console, but generally to Pro Tools and then out to the monitors. Well, that's kind of one of the beauties of this, is that because it is, a lot of modern consoles run what they call inline. So I might have my preamp at the top like I do on this, it would run down the channel strip, and then I would have a send out to Pro Tools. And then I might go into Pro Tools on channel 24, it might come back out on 24 onto the fader. That second path doesn't exist on this console, on a broadcast style console or a lot of legacy consoles. It was, straight 24 tracks here, and you might have a second 24 tracks just for monitoring, which means these large faders actually are the level send to Pro Tools. So that tactile approach you can get anyway, but it means that all my balancing is done all the way on the way into the console. Into Pro Tools, so that then when I play back from Pro Tools, I can just have all my faders at 0 and know my balance. I had already done it on the way in, I don't have to think about it, which, it's going to save me time later, that's for sure. So that's the late channel artist mix, which again, one of the things we wanted to do to open up the flexibility, because it is a broadcast console. In theory, you could, and often do, use all 24 channels to record, which means unless you manually patch around it, all these faders are already used up. So if you are monitoring digitally, it gives you something with a level of fader control for in the box. For me, if I'm doing string sessions or choir sessions, I quite like to just have all the mics in the box on that, and then I can do a Pro Tools submix live of me writing faders, as well as just capture things raw. So it's got a few uses, but it's just an 8-channel digital control surface. It's really sped up the workflow in here. It's definitely transformed what we can actually do in this room. It was a great studio before. There was literally nothing wrong with it. We had the old EMT console with, it was great, but there was 2-3 steps in between everything. Having this here has, like any classic Neve product, it's incredibly high quality, it's super reliable, they sound great. It's just, for me, it's leveled up the quality of the audio, as well as speeding things up. And for me, that's probably the most important thing, is that the speed in which you can get things up and running, which was already quick before, is just, if I can take one step out of the process for a band to feel comfortable and get working, great, because that's going to mean that they can focus on doing their job and we can capture something great, as opposed to worrying about where a patch cable went. Anytime you go to a studio with a nice vintage console, and I remember we're faffing on about Vintage Neve, but they are a thing. When you walk into a room and you see one of these and you sit at one of them, there's something that gives confidence to an artist, that they know they're in good hands because of the legacy behind what these consoles are. And I think you can't put a price on that. I think that 100% makes people feel comfortable seeing something like this in a room. The whole idea of mixing is that you want a bit of glue across everything, and you don't get that so much from using this brand of EQ on this channel and this brand of compressor on this channel. There's flavors that can be used to do things, of course, but that overriding tone that you get from the same channel, same transformers across all these different instruments is automatic glue, particularly with how the Neves work, with where the transformers line the path and then the center section. You've just got this glue that comes from having everything on your faders at your fingertips running through that. That's for sure, it's opened up the flexibility of this room 100%.